Narcissistic fathers, the invisible wounds that lead daughters to self-destruction. Daddy's little girl. This term evokes images of a loving father, cherishing and protecting his daughter, building her confidence and teaching her that she deserves respect. But what happens when daddy is a narcissist? Far from building up his daughter, the narcissistic father can leave deep scars and invisible wounds that lead his daughter down a path of self-destruction. As you're watching this video on narcissistic fathers, you may be the child of one or want to understand their negative effects on children. To learn more about narcissistic parenting and how to protect kids, I recommend subscribing and watching my video Co-Parenting with a Narcissistic Partner Protecting Kids from Negative Comments and Manipulation. In that video, I shed light on the harmful parenting tactics of narcissists and their damaging impact on children. I provide tips on how to shield kids from narcissistic manipulation and negativity when co-parenting. Understanding the narcissist behavior is key to minimizing their toxic influence on children. With awareness and proper boundaries, we can raise kids to develop healthy self-esteem, despite having a narcissistic parent. Now let's explore. The daughter of a narcissistic father is like a young plant trapped in a haunted mansion. She strains towards the sun's rays she can see through dusty windows. But no matter how she stretches, the light does not reach her. The narcissistic father is the ghost that haunts her. He shatters all the mirrors in the house, leaving only distorted carnival mirrors that reflect back a fractured, ugly image of his daughter. He hisses in her ear that this is who she is: flawed, worthless, hopeless. Deprived of seeing her true reflection, the daughter begins to mistake the grotesque image for reality. She accepts the phantom's lies that she is ugly inside and out. Desperate for a glimpse of the sun's rays, she contorts herself, trying to please her father ghost, thinking she can earn his approval and validation. But his conditional love is poison. The more she swallows his criticism and distortion, the more she loses touch with her inner truth. Robbed of real mirror reflections, she relies on others to shape her self-perception. This leads her to cling to sources of poisonous validation, like addictions and abusive relationships.
The narcissistic leech, feeding off his daughter's soul.
The narcissist father is like a parasite that feeds off the host, his daughter's soul. He drains her of life force, spontaneity, and joy, leaving a hollow shell desperate to please. He employs mind games to make her dependent on him. He isolates her from others who might see through his distortions. He instills fear, saying she can't survive without him. The outside world is cold, harsh, and dangerous, he warns. She must rely on her father's wisdom and guidance. When she tries to break free, he reels her back in with crumbs of conditional love. He turns up the charm and affection when he feels his supply thinning. Like a drug, she craves those moments of false warmth and acceptance. She ignores the awful feeling of being used as long as she gets her next fix of his approval. But his love comes with sharp barbs. He'll suddenly turn on her with cutting remarks meant to shrink her self-esteem. He'll say she has no talent, her dreams are stupid, she's too emotional, too sensitive, too needy. Toughen up, he belittles. His erratic venom keeps her walking on eggshells, forever trying to win stable ground.
Escaping the narcissist's fun house of horrors.
The narcissist father's sick conditioning can lead daughters down dangerous paths of addiction, abusive relationships, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, and tragically, even suicide. But she can break his spell with self-awareness, compassion, and by replacing his funhouse mirrors with true reflections of her strength. She must chip away at his projected image to rediscover the beautiful, creative soul buried beneath. The journey is long, but step by step, she will reclaim her sense of self. She will realize she does not need her narcissistic father's rays of counterfeit sun. She has an inner light that has always been there, waiting for her to see and shine. The narcissist's criticism, a slow and painful poison. The narcissistic father wields criticism as a weapon to undermine his daughter's spirit. His constant judgments and distortions are like a slow poison, each cut damaging her psyche. A creative daughter who showed early entrepreneurial promise has her ideas constantly dismissed and scoffed at by her father. He insists she could never succeed on her own, that she desperately needs his sage business advice. When she manages to succeed despite his criticism, he minimizes her accomplishments and peppers her with seeded doubts meant to erode her confidence. "Are you sure you can handle this latest responsibility you've taken on?" he asks pointedly. "You seem so scattered and disorganized lately. I'm concerned about your competency," he says with false care, planting toxins of self-doubt with a smile. Each criticism lands like a cut, whittling away at her self-belief. She withers under this death by 1,000 cuts, this Chinese water torture of poison slowly seeping into her mind. She works herself to utter exhaustion, trying to prove to her father and herself that she is not the scatterbrained, incompetent failure he convinces her she is. But no amount of achievement removes the stain of his toxic words.
The Narcissistic Puppet Master.
The narcissistic father is a master puppeteer who pulls his daughter's strings to feed his supply of control. With sweet words of praise one day and cruel put-downs the next, he keeps her perpetually off balance, grasping for stable ground. A loving father's sudden mood swings were impossible for one daughter to anticipate. His affection would pivot sharply to cold sullenness or rage if she merely asked him to pass the salt at dinner. He'd give her the silent treatment for days after minor perceived slights, leaving her anxiously groveling to get the doting sweet daddy back. When she tries to break free from his control, he woos her back with excessive praise, attention, and gifts. But as soon as she relaxes, he yanks the strings again by turning cold, critical, and contemptuous. His erratic reinforcement trains her to constantly perform to earn scraps of love, betraying her own needs to please this toxic, controlling man. Escaping the puppet master. Breaking free from the narcissist's web requires realizing his criticisms and conditional love are all constructed from lies and distortions. His cruel, fun house hall of mirrors can be shattered, his ephemeral approval renounced. Daughters must summon the courage to cut the twisted puppet strings he has wrapped them in and start dancing to their own true tune. The journey home to their authentic voice and freedom is long, but the view outside the narcissist's haunted mansion makes every difficult step worthwhile. The narcissistic father is a parasitic vampire feeding on his daughter's soul. But she has the power to see through his deceitful projections, remove his warped funhouse mirrors, and reclaim her spirit. She can write a new story where she slays the ghostly dragon that has haunted her. The road to healing from a narcissistic father is long, but take heart. With each step towards greater self-awareness, you get closer to the light. I believe in you. The best is yet to come.